The baby monitor flickered to life at 2:15 in the afternoon, and what it captured would leave an entire family absolutely speechless. If Sarah Mitchell hadn't installed that camera just 3 days earlier, nobody would have believed what was happening in her daughter's nursery. And by the end of this story, you'll understand exactly why this footage is spreading across the internet like wildfire. But before we dive into this incredible tale, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another unbelievable story like this one. Sarah Mitchell had always been a cautious mother. When her daughter Emma was born 6 months ago, she'd taken every precaution imaginable. Her husband Tom often joked that their house looked like it had been baby-proofed by a team of Secret Service agents. But Sarah didn't mind the teasing. Emma was her world, and she wasn't taking any chances.
The Mitchell family lived in a cozy 2-story home in suburban Portland, Oregon. Their household included one other member who would soon become the star of the most extraordinary home video they'd ever recorded. His name was Sonny, a 4-year-old cockatiel with bright yellow head feathers that stood up like a perpetual crown of excitement, orange cheek patches, and gray and white feathers. Tom had owned Sonny since before he'd even met Sarah. The bird was family. When Sarah became pregnant, she'd had concerns about having a bird around a newborn baby. The doctor assured her that as long as the bird was healthy and they maintained good hygiene practices, there shouldn't be any problems. Still, Sarah established strict rules. Sonny's cage remained in the living room, not near the nursery. Supervised interaction only. They were careful, methodical, responsible. For the first few months after Emma arrived, Sonny seemed largely indifferent to the new addition. He'd tilt his head curiously when Emma cried, sometimes mimicking the sound in his high-pitched cockatiel voice. Sonny had a vocabulary of about 15 words and phrases, including pretty bird, sunny boy, and what you doin'? The bird had personality, no doubt about that.
But everything changed 3 weeks ago. Sarah had brought Emma into the living room for tummy time, and she noticed Sonny pressed against the bars of his cage, head tilted at an extreme angle, watching Emma with intense fascination. This was new. This was focused attention. Then came last Monday afternoon. Sarah had placed Emma down for her nap around 1 o'clock. Emma was generally a good napper, usually sleeping for at least 90 minutes. Sarah was in the kitchen, catching up on emails, half listening to the baby monitor sitting on the counter beside her. The nursery was quiet. Then she heard it, a sound that definitely didn't belong in Emma's nursery. A chirp, a distinctly bird-like chirp. Sarah's fingers froze over her keyboard. She looked at the baby monitor screen. Everything looked normal. Another chirp, clearer this time.
Before we continue our story, let's take just 5 seconds. If this story is touching your heart, please press the like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay with us because many more beautiful stories are coming. Thank you, my dear friend. Now, let us continue.
Sarah felt her heart race. How could Sonny be in the nursery? His cage was in the living room, door closed as always. Instead of rushing upstairs in a panic, she pulled out her phone and opened the baby monitor app to review the recorded footage. She rewound to 15 minutes earlier and pressed play. What she saw made her gasp out loud. On the screen, a small gray and yellow shape flew into frame. Sunny! The cockatiel landed gracefully on the top rail of Emma's white wooden crib. Sarah's hand flew to her mouth. How was this possible? On screen, Sunny hopped along the crib rail until he was positioned almost directly above Emma's sleeping form. Sarah watched, her breath caught in her throat, as Sunny tilted his head down, looking at the sleeping baby. For a long moment, the bird simply stood there, observing. Then Sunny did something that made Sarah's eyes well up with tears. The little cockatiel began to sing. Not his usual random chirps and whistles, but something different. A soft, melodious series of notes that Sarah had never heard from him before. It was gentle, rhythmic, almost like a lullaby. And Emma seemed to sleep even more peacefully. Her tiny face relaxed, her little fist curled near her cheek. This continued for several minutes. Sunny perched on the crib rail, singing softly to the sleeping baby. There was something so tender about it, so unexpected, that Sarah found herself unable to look away from her phone screen. Then, on the recording, Emma began to stir. The baby's face scrunched up, her little body wiggling in that way that usually preceded crying. On screen, Sunny immediately stopped singing. The bird leaned forward on the rail, head tilted, watching intently.
Emma's mouth opened, but before any sound could emerge, Sunny did something extraordinary. The cockatiel began making a sound that Sarah recognized. It was the white noise machine. Sunny was mimicking the gentle whooshing sound of the lamb-shaped white noise machine that sat across the room. The effect was immediate. Emma's face relaxed, her mouth closed. Within seconds, she'd settled back into peaceful sleep. Sunny folded his wings back against his body and resumed his position, standing guard like a tiny feathered sentinel. Sarah sat in her kitchen, staring at her phone, absolutely stunned. Sunny wasn't just randomly in Emma's room. The bird was intentionally helping to soothe the baby. But how? Why? She needed to investigate. Sarah moved quietly toward the living room. Sure enough, Sunny's cage door was open. Sarah examined the latch carefully. Tom had mentioned once that cockatiels were smart, that Sunny had figured out how to open certain things at his old apartment, but they'd never had a problem with the cage latch before.
Very quietly, Sarah climbed the stairs. Emma's nursery door was slightly ajar. Through the gap, she could see the crib. And there, exactly where he'd been on the recording, was Sunny, still perched on the crib rail, still watching over Emma as she slept. Sarah stood in the doorway, watching this bizarre but beautiful scene. Her bird, the pet she'd been so worried about having around her newborn daughter, was acting like a guardian. Finally, she entered slowly and extended her hand. Sunny hopped onto her finger readily, allowing himself to be carried away from the nursery. When Tom came out of his office, Sarah showed him everything. They replayed the footage several times, each viewing revealing new details. The gentleness of Sunny's movements, the way he'd positioned himself to watch over Emma, the deliberate mimicry of the white noise machine at the exact right moment. Tom called their avian veterinarian, Dr. Peterson. After viewing the footage, she explained, "This is remarkable. Cockatiels are highly social creatures. What you're seeing is Sunny incorporating Emma into his flock. He's exhibiting protective behavior. The mimicry shows problem-solving and empathy. Continue monitoring with your camera, but what I'm seeing is a bird being extremely gentle and careful. Since then, Sarah and Tom had been conducting an experiment. Each day during Emma's afternoon nap, they deliberately leave Sunny's cage unlatched. He returned to the nursery every single day. The routine was always the same. About 20 minutes after Emma was placed in her crib, Sunny would work the latch open, fly upstairs, and take up his position on the crib rail. He'd sing his soft lullaby, and if Emma stirred, he'd mimic the white noise machine until she settled. But the most incredible moment came yesterday. Sarah was watching the monitor in real time when she heard Sunny's voice through the speaker. But he wasn't singing, he was talking. "Pretty baby," the Cockatiel said softly. "Pretty Emma. Sunny loves Emma." Sarah's breath caught. She'd never taught him Emma's name. "Pretty Emma. Sunny loves Emma."
That evening, Sarah posted a short clip online with the caption, "Our cockatiel has apparently decided he's our baby's guardian angel." The video exploded. Within 12 hours, it had been shared thousands of times. By the next morning, it had over 1 million views. Today, Sunny continues his daily flights to the nursery, continues his gentle lullabies, continues his vigilant observation. The camera keeps recording, capturing moment after moment of this extraordinary relationship developing. Sarah has installed a bird-safe perch near Emma's crib, giving Sunny a more comfortable spot for his guardian duties. Emma is growing bigger every day, and Sarah swears she recognizes Sunny now, that her face lights up when she sees his yellow crest. They're forming a bond that will likely last years. If that camera hadn't been recording, they would have never known. Sunny's love would have remained a secret. But technology revealed what the heart had already decided. Sometimes family doesn't look like we expect it to. Sometimes it has feathers and a yellow crest and a capacity for love that leaves us absolutely speechless. If this incredible story touched your heart, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel for more amazing animal stories, and comment below about your own experiences with pets and children. Have you ever witnessed a bond between an animal and a baby that seemed almost magical? We'd love to hear your stories. Thanks for watching.